So when the Karen Carpenter TV movie about her life was first proposed, and we heard that Karen Carpenter's brother Richard was going to produce it, we figured, hey, it's going to keep close to the story. But when it came about, even Richard disowned it years later, saying it wasn't a true story what Karen Carpenter went through, including her anorexia and her early death and her obsessive compulsive ways at times. Now, the Karen Carpenter story is an American made-for-TV biofilm about, again, Carpenter and the brother and sister pop music sensation of which he was a part, the Carpenters. Now, in the early 1970s, the Carpenters were the champion of what's called soft rock or muzak rock or pop. Had some great singles, and it's talked about how the process went in the movie. But the movie, although it was the highest rated TV movie of the 80s, didn't really tell the whole story. Now, directed by Joseph Sargent, of course, with Mitchell Anderson as Richard Carpenter, and of course Richard again served for producer as well as the musical score. Now the movie begins with the collapse of Karen Carpenter in the closet of her partner's home in Downey, California on February 4, 1983. She is rushed to the hospital by paramedics, and as the EMT is placing the oxygen mask over her face, Rainy Days and Mondays, recorded by the Carpenters on their self-titled album, was playing. The scene shifts to a teenage Karen singing The End of the World as she roller skates on the day the family moved into their home in Downey, and they had previously resided in New Haven, Connecticut. Now, the film cuts to the teenage Karen skating in slow motion, looking down at herself as the 32-year-old Karen is dying at hospital. The film then shows the highs and lows of Carpenter's life from the 1960s, where she was a young ingenue on the drums and on the mic, and Richard, again, was a talented pianist. When the film cuts to the teenage Karen skating in slow motion, looking down at herself, we know that the movie, if you haven't seen it before, how it's going to end. Now, one of the scenes which showed Carpenter fading on stage while she was singing the song Top of the World was fictionalized. Also fictionalized is when Richard Carpenter falls down a flight of stairs due to his abuse of Quaaludes. The film probably attempts to end on a happy note, with Karen smiling after her mother says, "I love you," when she was going to rest for the evening. The details about her subsequent death are superimposed on the screen before the closing credits. Now, Peter Michael Getz plays Harold Carpenter, the father, while Oscar winner Louise Fletcher plays Agnes Carpenter, her mother, in a very, very stilted performance. Now, the performances by Cynthia Gibb and Mitchell Anderson don't really show the charisma of both of them, even though, like I said, they were considered the strongest duo in rock history. Now, the idea for a movie based on Carpenter's life had been floating around after his sudden death from imitine cardiotoxicity due to anorexia nervosa in February 1983. However, it was difficult to find someone to write the script for it. Once it had been approved by the studio of Richard Carpenter, there were daily script rewrites or entire scenes were removed, according to co-stars Cynthia Gibb and Mitchell Anderson. In an attempt to soften the image of Agnes Carpenter by her son in real life, they had to be added. The final movie, in Gibb's opinion, gives a whitewashed account of Carpenter's life. Gibb has also said that a lot of the information in it was watered down or removed altogether at the request of Richard. Now, Richard Carpenter also requested that Gibb wear Karen Carpenter's original clothing, which she supplied, and that she lose the required weight in order to fit in these clothes. Gibbs later stated, "I lost weight as Richard wanted, and it was there watching over me in every scene. It was unnerving having to wear Karen's clothes, right down to her clingy T-shirts and crumply bell-bottoms. I donned a wig and used Karen's makeup. By the time it was finished, I felt like I was Karen." Now, this is where the movie has a problem for me, because Cynthia Gibb is a good actress, not a great actress, but in no way did she reflect Karen Carpenter. Now, Gibb also stated that there was no time to research, and I had my drum lessons during my lunch hour. Even though she had starred for 2 years in Fame, she said it was still insisted upon to take voice lessons to do the lip syncing. Now, crew members later talked about their experience dealing with Richard Carpenter during shooting. Frankly, we were very glad he didn't play himself. He was a pain in the ass, so oversensitive and close to the action, he almost screwed things up. When we spotted him on his knees praying to Karen, he was saying, "Forgive me, forgive me." But if you watch the scenes in the movie, you can see that a lot of the information seems to be the bare bones, almost like, behind the music special. The misgivings Carpenter had were painfully obvious. You could almost see him wrestling with things in his mind. It was as if he felt that Karen would never have approved. He whispered to one of the boys, "I'd give my right arm if she was here now." The guy just hasn't been able to let go, and now the film lacks an independent balance. The movie was very popular in the ratings. It was the highest rated 2 hour TV movie of the year and the third highest rated such program on any network during the 1980s. It has never had an official US VHS or DVD release, but was issued on Laserdisc in Japan, where the Carpenters were quite popular. Now, at the time, Richard Carpenter described his feelings towards the film. Certain things were overblown, not that I'm trying to take anything away from the importance of the event. Karen's battle with anorexia, mine with sleeping pills, but it was still a little melodramatic. Like neither of us, for anyone that watched the movie, literally collapsed. In fact, when I saw that, I told him while it was being made, look, neither of us fell down here. Karen didn't on stage. I didn't go down a flight of stairs. But we're dealing with a TV movie, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. And each little thing was not exactly the way it happened, that's all. But it's still a fairly accurate log of 20 years of our lives. However, in 1988, Carpenter stated that I was in two minds about the film from the start, but I knew that it had to be made. I had to be involved. I accept that parts of the lives of all celebrities are matter of public record, but for somebody else to have done this without the family's blessing, well, it just wouldn't have been as we're well told. In 2004, he was much harsher about the project, calling it 90 minutes of creative license that give biopics in general a dubious tone. He also stated at the time that he considered being involved in the film one of his biggest mistakes of his career. So the Karen Carpenter story, for what it is, it's a 1980s TV movie, late 80s, and it impacted a lot of the untold story movies that came later on. But I was never a big fan of Karen Carpenter or the Carpenters. All I know is the fact she struggled with her weight and she struggled with the pressures of fame, but the talent was there. And anybody watches the movie, and a lot of people watch it, they loved it because Karen Carpenter loved her fans very deeply, as did Richard. And they toured extensively, had their famous Christmas specials and that was part of their childhood, especially the early to mid 1970s, or as what they called the calm era of America at the time. And this was before punk music came in and the negativity of music that was in the States, predominantly in the late 1970s, or we call it sarcastic pop and rock. But Karen Carpenter deserved a better life. Maybe in 2023, she would have lived longer. And at the time, ladies and gentlemen, she was bigger than Taylor Swift. Believe that. That's no joke. Karen Carpenter was a household name. And every wedding, every graduation, every get-together, they would play a Carpenter song. And a lot of Christians listened to them as well, because Top of the World is technically a celebration of the Lord, celebration of faith. So it is what it is. So if you were a fan of the Karen Carpenter story, if you enjoyed the movie, right on, but it didn't tell the whole story. But there's enough books out there and, other documentaries can talk about it. Fighting anorexia nervosa. But anorexia became a household name or word because of Karen Carpenter, because she was the most highest level actress, not actress, but performer to die from it. So ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing with our 1980s vintage TV podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.